I'm Dubbins, United Union International Desk Director, as well as the Freedom for Ocalan Campaign spokesperson, and one of the patron for the Peace in Kurdistan campaign. Long time of friends of the Kurds. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Erem. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. So let's start with the latest updates from Turkey's attacks to northern Iraq, to PKK zones especially. So how would you going to comment on that first of all, shortly?
Well, to be perfectly honest, Erem, in some ways it's not a surprise with everything that's happening in Ukraine at the moment and the attention of the world on Ukraine. It was almost anticipated that Turkey would try in an opportunistic manner to seize advantage of that situation. What's frightening from the reports I see and read is the scale of the operation, the hardware that's being used, and the brutality of it. So it's appalling that a NATO member state who's condemning Russia's actions, and rightly and understandably, is then engaging in almost the same actions itself in another sovereign country. So it's appalling. They shouldn't be doing it, and we would condemn it utterly.
Also, the chemical weapons have been used as well, and you have been part of the chemical weapons against chemical weapons coalition in Kurdistan as well. So you also chase up the developments about chemical weapons usage, these allegations as well. So since last couple of days now, Turkish troops using chemical weapons against Kurdish guerrillas. How would you going to comment on that? Because also the chemical weapons are coming from UK as well. They produce them in Bristol. Some parts of the these weapons have been produced in Bristol, as well as the license to use these weapons has been sold by UK to Turkey. What is your comments about this?
Well, look, Erem, it's very difficult to know exactly what has happened. Obviously, there are reports of the use of chemical weapons and very serious accounts of what has happened in their use. The real demand is that it be investigated properly so that we can find out exactly if that has or has not happened. And I think that's what a lot of the Kurdish population in those areas are calling for, a proper independent investigation to establish if this is true. And that has not been happening, and you know, it seems odd that there's a reluctance to do that. I don't know the details about supplies from Bristol, but obviously the use of chemical weapons in any conflict is completely deplorable and utterly wrong. And if there is any evidence that it's been supplied by the UK and it is being deployed there, then we would completely and utterly condemn it and call for action against that.
So it's the organization is the OPCW. Can we say that OPCW have to go there for investigations, professional investigations about chemical weapons?
I think it's absolutely essential, Erem. As I've just said, the whole world is condemning what Russia is doing at the moment, and there are lots of allegations about the use of certain weapons going on there, and there seems to be no shortage of people calling for investigations and condemning what's happening and everything. Now here we have a NATO member state doing exactly the same thing, or alleged to have done exactly the same thing, and nobody seems to be interested in it for all sorts of reasons. So yes, we would fully support the call for a proper investigation into what has happened and let the facts speak for themselves, and then the consequences that flow from that should be very clear if that is what has happened.
Also, another significant issue is the Barzani family and the USA as well as UK relations, and then lastly we can see there is a big establishment on their relation with the Turkish government as well. So Mesrur Barzani has been visited UK, and they talked about with Boris Johnson, Minister Boris Johnson, they talked about the petrol and gas pipes where they should go through Middle East to the Europe, and Barzani family has asked to UK to have them on their own zones, on the KDP controlled areas. Do you think these attacks also has been related with the KDP UK relations and Turkey relations?
Look, I think the UK government is a major exporter of arms to Turkey. In fact, when Theresa May was Prime Minister, one of the first visits she did was to visit Trump and then to visit Turkey. So there's a deep connection there, and the UK government doesn't care a damn about the rights of many of the Kurdish people in the region, and also the repression of the Turkish state within Turkey itself. It carries on treating Erdogan and the Turkish government as if they're a normal government where nothing like this is happening. So it's completely and utterly wrong. We know there's a very long-standing relationship between the KRG, particularly the Barzani-led government there, and Turkey itself for oil reasons and all other sorts of commercial interests. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that there's some sort of connection between all of that. I think what is really regrettable, appalling, and we would like to see change is that the unity of the Kurdish people at this moment is critically important, and it is really, really difficult to observe the relationship going on between the KRG and Turkey, the acceptance that Turkey can intervene, the possible collaboration with that, and the effect that that's having on a lot of ordinary Kurdish people and the wider Kurdish political movement. So it's wrong and it needs to be addressed, and we would absolutely call for the unity of Kurds at this moment, not to be in bed with and supporting forces that definitely have not got the best interest of Kurds at heart.
So what is your solidarity message and message to stop this war, lastly?
Well, look, I mean, to begin with the solidarity message, we, as you know yourself, for years now have been doing everything we can to build solidarity with the Kurdish political movement. And the message would be the one that I often have said: you're not alone, people have not forgotten you. I think we're getting stronger, and the message is getting out there amongst civil society. I've no doubt about that. Unfortunately, it's not as quick as we want it to be, but we are getting there, we're building. You're not alone, but we do understand that this situation is worse than some of the previous situations and how critical it is. The message to the EU, NATO, UK governments and others would be this: stop the hypocrisy. It really is outrageous that one conflict is quite rightly condemned, but we've witnessed the mobilisation, the help to refugees on an unprecedented level virtually, for the Ukrainian refugees, the supplying of weaponry, the sanctions against Russia and everything, and yet another NATO member state is doing exactly the same, and there's no word about it. Nobody's applying pressure on Turkey to stop it. Nobody is raising their voice. We then have Mr. Öcalan in the most brutal isolation since over 20 years. The Committee for the Prevention of Torture condemns it, and yet there is no corresponding action. So we would say, be consistent and end the hypocrisy. get off the fence, and if we respond like this to aggression, let's be consistent. And there is aggression from the Turkish state and has been for years and years and years. It is not a democratic country. It does not respect the rights of its citizens, and it is engaged in some brutal acts of war and ethnic cleansing against civilians. So let's apply the same standards and let's see the same action taken against Turkey to stop that.
Simon Dubbins, director of the Unite the Union International and spokesperson for the Freedom for His Own campaign. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your valuable comments.
Thank you very much, Erem.
Thank you.